When it comes to emotional moments in anime, One Piece has some of the most heartbreaking deaths you'll ever witness, and we're going to break down every single one that left fans in tears, starting with the death that literally sparked the entire series. Goldie Roger's death started the entire pirate era and kicked off One Piece. Everyone saw Roger's public execution in Logtown, where he was kneeling on the execution platform with a smile on his face. But that's not actually what killed him. Eiichiro Oda revealed in an interview that Roger had caught an incurable disease and knew his time was running out fast. He only had about a year left to live, so he turned himself into the Marines because he had a master plan. Roger understood that the Marines would treat his capture as a huge victory and announce his execution worldwide as a way to discourage piracy. Everyone would be watching. He used this global stage to announce that his legendary treasure, the One Piece, was real and waiting to be found somewhere in the Grand Line. Some Marine in the crowd yelled, asking where his treasure was, and Roger laughed, saying, "You want my treasure? You can have it. I left everything I gathered together in one piece. Now you just have to find it." With those words, he started the Great Pirate Era, inspiring countless people to set sail and search for his treasure. Even though he died from illness, Roger controlled exactly how and when he died, turning his execution into a message that changed the world forever. The Marines wanted to use his death to end piracy, but Roger flipped it around and made his death the beginning of the greatest age of piracy ever. That's the ultimate power move. Another death with so much impact on the story is that of Portgas D. Ace. See, Ace was about to be executed by the Marines, but Whitebeard and Luffy launched a massive rescue operation. They stormed Marineford, fought through countless Marines, and actually succeeded in freeing him. Everything looked like it was going to be okay. Ace just needed to run and he'd be safe. But then Admiral Akainu started talking trash about Whitebeard, calling him a loser who was past his prime, and Ace couldn't let that slide. He turned around and attacked Akainu, which was a huge mistake because Akainu was way stronger. After beating Ace down, Akainu went straight for Luffy, with a fatal blow aimed right at his head. That's when Ace did the unthinkable. He jumped in front of his brother and took a magma fist straight through the chest. Yeah, he got the full Rengoku donut treatment. The hole in his chest was so big you could see right through him. As he fell into Luffy's arms, blood pouring everywhere, his final words were thanking everyone for loving him despite being the son of the Pirate King. This is the death that made Luffy realize he wasn't strong enough, leading to his 2-year training arc. But Ace isn't the only one whose death involved a heroic sacrifice. The Going Merry's death might seem weird to include in a list about character deaths, but hear me out. This ship was with the Straw Hats for half the series, carrying them through countless adventures. The Merry survived attacks from giant sea creatures, marine battleships, and even falling from the sky. When they arrived at Water 7, they received devastating news from the shipwrights that Merry was damaged beyond repair. The keel was broken, which is basically the ship's spine. The crew had been sailing without a proper shipwright, and all those battles and crazy adventures had taken their toll. Everyone struggled to accept this reality, but Usopp took it the hardest. He saw the Merry as a true member of the crew, and if Luffy was willing to abandon the ship when it couldn't sail anymore, what would stop him from leaving Usopp behind when he became useless? I mean, Usopp isn't the strongest fighter, but he doesn't have a crucial role like Chopper or Nami, so these insecurities made sense to him. These fears led to an actual fight between Usopp and Luffy over the ship's fate. Luffy won, of course, but he still left the ship with Usopp as a sign of respect. Later, when the crew desperately needed to escape from CP9 and the Buster Call, the Merry showed up one last time. Somehow, the ship had repaired itself just enough and sailed on its own to save the crew. It was like the ship had a spirit, a will to protect its crew one final time. But this was its final voyage. As the ship began falling apart in the ocean, the crew gave the Merry a Viking funeral at sea, setting it ablaze. The entire crew was bawling their eyes out, and so was everyone watching. Only One Piece could make you cry over a boat. Now let's talk about a death that showed us what it means to be a legend. Whitebeard earned his title as the world's strongest man, wielding the Tremor fruit that could literally destroy the planet. This guy was an absolute monster in combat, and even the Marines were terrified of fighting him. But when Ace got captured, Whitebeard went to war despite being way past his prime and seriously ill. The dude was already dying from illness and was connected to medical equipment constantly. During the Marineford battle, he took absurd amounts of damage. We're talking 267 sword wounds, 152 gunshots, 56 cannonball hits, and even half his face getting blown off by Akainu's magma. The man was literally falling apart. But here's the crazy part. After all that punishment, Whitebeard died standing up. He never fell to his knees, not even once. Even in death, he maintained his dignity and proved why he was a legend. Speaking of tragic deaths, let's talk about Belle-Mère, who died protecting her adopted daughters in one of the most brutal scenes in the series. Belle-Mère was a former Marine who retired to raise 2 orphan girls, Nami and Nojiko, that she found on a battlefield. They became a quirky but loving family, living peacefully on their island, growing tangerines and living a simple life. Then Arlong showed up and ruined everything. This fishman pirate took over the entire island, forcing everyone to pay a monthly fee of 100,000 berries per adult and 50,000 per child just for the right to live. If you couldn't pay, you died. Belle-Mère came up with a plan to hide her daughters so she'd only have to pay for herself. But the girls were discovered, and Arlong threatened to kill them right there. To save Nami and Nojiko, Belle-Mère told Arlong her payment would go toward their lives instead of her own. Arlong accepted and immediately shot her. The manga showed him shooting her in the head at point-blank range, but the anime censored it to a chest shot because it was too graphic. Either way, watching this happen in front of the children was devastating. Nami and Nojiko had to watch their mother die for them. But not all deaths in One Piece stay dead, and some fake-outs are even more important to the plot. Sabo's fake death actually changed the entire trajectory of the story. Sabo came from a royal family, but dreamed of becoming a pirate, something his parents absolutely hated. They saw pirates as trash and wanted Sabo to marry into another noble family, so he decided to set sail without their permission, ready to start his adventure. His family wasn't about to let their son embarrass them like that, so they contacted the world nobles who were visiting. The Celestial Dragons literally shot his boat to pieces with a cannon while he was on it, just because they felt like it. For years, fans believed Sabo was dead, making the dynamic between Luffy and Ace even more tragic since they'd already lost one brother. The anime dropped a bombshell revelation that changed everything. Sabo had survived by clinging to wreckage and floating until a revolutionary army ship led by Dragon picked him up. However, the attack caused him to lose his memories. He had complete amnesia about his past, his brothers, everything. He spent years with the revolutionaries, rising through the ranks and becoming Dragon's second in command, having no idea who he really was. His memories only returned when he read about Ace's death in the newspaper. Can you imagine? Finding out you had two brothers, and one of them just died protecting the other while you were alive with amnesia the whole time? The guilt and pain Sabo felt was unimaginable. He blamed himself for not being there, for not remembering, for not being able to save Ace. That's rough, man. While we're on the topic of harsh deaths, Kozuki Oden literally got boiled alive in oil and still managed to be a hero. Oden was a powerful samurai who ruled Wano alongside his loyal retainers, the 9 Red Scabbards. This guy was a beast who could fight evenly with Whitebeard and Roger in his prime. Everything fell apart when Kaido attacked their country with his beast pirates. After being defeated through trickery, Kaido decided to execute Oden and his men by boiling them alive in a giant pot of oil. But Oden challenged Kaido to a deal. If his crew could survive in the boiling oil for 1 hour, they'd go free. Kaido found this entertaining enough to agree, thinking there was no way anyone could survive. That's when Oden did something absolutely insane that cemented his legendary status. He grabbed a massive wooden plank and held it above his head so his 9 samurai could stand on it, keeping them out of the boiling oil. Can you imagine the pain? The oil was so hot, it was bubbling violently, and Oden's skin was literally cooking off his body. 10 minutes passed, then 30, then finally the full hour. His legs were completely burned, but he never dropped that plank. And when time was up, Oden tossed his retainers to safety with his remaining strength, struck his signature pose one last time, and was executed by gunfire from Kaido's forces. While the deaths of these characters made One Piece the icon it is today, have you ever wondered what would happen if Luffy had been raised by a One Piece legend? Well, click on this next video to find out.